Hello, I'm Tony Weinbender. I started Fest. I came from Harrisonburg, Virginia. I left there in '99, and I did a lot of shows when I was there because I played in a punk band called Swank in Roanoke in my teen years, early 20s. There was a band from Richmond called Whirlybird, and they had a label called World Records. In the '90s was like a big deal. And Pat was like from that band, and that band was one of the first, besides the Veil, to come down south and tour that we knew out of our friends. They weren't the first band to tour down here. And so Pat was like, hey, when you go to Gainesville, there's this guy, Sean Bonner, who's doing a record label, and he can put on your show. Our first show we played was with a band called Allen Wrench at the old Hardback, and that was where Boca Fiesta is now. And Chuck from Hot Water came to our show, and at the end was like, love your band, here's a tape, and gave us like the Push for Coin, like Hot Water demo. So we took that back up to Virginia and was like, hey, to all of our friends, not having internet, not being able to share it, it's kind of basically we made copies of that and gave it to our friends, and like, this band's going to come up. And like back then you couldn't email, there was no way to check out a band. You had to like physically send your stuff through the mail to people, and it took a lot longer to book tours, but you built up a better relationship with the people you booked tours with or did shows with, because you would talk to them on the phone multiple times. So like I just kind of liked the scene here in Gainesville. We came down here a lot and played many shows, and when I kind of like, I was in college and working for the college radio station and doing a music festival up there called Mac Rock, and I just like really, my band kind of fizzled out. I was still really good friends with Les and Jake from the times we played with them. Kenny from Les and Jake was like, hey, what are you doing in the summer? We got offered the Warped Tour. And this was like Warped Tour 3. Yeah. And he's like, do you want to come out on the road and be like roadie, merch guy, dress in funny costumes? I had many weird characters. I had Primal E.T., which was a rubber E.T. mask and nothing else. We got weird back then. And so I moved down to Gainesville, January 2000. And started working at Fuel Bar Ramen. Just boom, right then. Basically, it was awesome. I worked my ass off, got to work with a lot of good bands, got to work with a lot of good people. Learned a lot just trial by fire. Basically, a lot of it was building relationships with other labels and trying to be like, hey, instead of us working against each other, why don't we work together and try to like build tours together, put our bands together, do comps, do buy-ins at listening stations. After that, I really, my skill set for getting a job in Gainesville was horrible. I had worked at a mom and pop video store. I had worked in independent record stores. I, went to college, and I worked at Fuel Bar Ramen, a record label that nobody knew. And everybody in Gainesville either worked at a bar or a restaurant. So I tried to get into this bar and restaurant scene, and I did that for a long time. I wanted to get back into the grind and helping bands, and to be asked by No Idea was like an honor, So I worked there. I was their publicist. But yeah, so I ended up working at No Idea, and I was doing Fest at the same time too. Fest was really small when we first started. We had 2 days, 60 bands, about 500 people. And we lost money the first year. In the second year, we made back the money that we lost the first year. And in the third year, we made like $500. And it was all just like a bonus, Fest 1, like, I saw Against Me play at CMC, the old CMC, when it was on University Avenue. They just had that energy. They had the what people call the it factor, like when Hot Water came out, like it was like, this band is very similar to like 10 different bands, but they're not a direct descendant of any of these bands. It's like something new, something fresh, and the rawness and the energy that was impactful, like when they came out. Same with Against Me. Like, and I remember talking to friends and being like, I haven't seen a band like this around since Hot Water. And yeah, they grew up in Gainesville. They played the first fest. Market Street Pub, which is beside Lucy's, was like our main venue back then. And Against Me headlined. For us in Gainesville, we were all so proud of them because it was the first time we had ever seen them with everyone from Gainesville plus other people. And it was like, 500 people. But for us, it was like, holy shit. here's a band from Gainesville playing in front of 500 people, going nuts. And they just, they just grew. It's just like Hot Water did. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're from Gainesville or not from Gainesville. You see a band like that, it impacts you. I try to make Fest, like I said, selfishly, because this is what I like. And luckily, there's 3,000 other people, plus the bands, plus volunteers, plus, there's a little bit of people that kind of go, yeah, I like that too. And that's all that matters. I think Fest attendees are very open, and that's part of the reason why people come to Fest. It's like, let's learn about some new stuff, let's make some new friends, get into some new bands. And that's the point of it. I could have a whole festival full of just big names. Plenty of music festivals to do that. Mm-hmm. But I think what's earnest about Fest is that we actually bring bands up. And you've seen bands over the years grow throughout Fest, and now are becoming the headliners. Gainesville's scene has always fluctuated in a lot of ways, but at its heart and its core, Gainesville's scene is just very communal. I think what makes Gainesville special, and why people that travel here and tour here and come through here like it, especially Fest, non-Fest, is that Gainesville in its truest essence is a very friendly town. I think because it's small, we all have to get along, and we all see each other constantly, and we're all part of this fight and struggle, in a way to keep the scene alive and keep music going. And we all work jobs, and we all have things, so when we all get to come together and see each other at a show and sing along to bands, it makes it fun. It makes life enjoyable. But Gainesville's very communal and very friendly.